Alright, how's it going? So for my first video, I wanted to do this knife because this is the knife that prompted me to want to do videos. I've always wanted to do them, but this one made me decide it's time for me to start making some videos, and hopefully I can help people avoid some of the pitfalls that I have fallen into. Or find some great knives that I found, you know what I mean? Based on other people's videos. So, what don't I like about this knife? First thing I don't like, which is pretty much the first thing that everybody doesn't like, is the action. It was horrible when I got it. It just flat out was horrible. It was stiff and it was horrible. Did I mention that it was horrible? People say we'll tighten up the pivot, or loosen up the pivots. I have it sort of loose now, not loose, but I have it basically just under overly tight, and there's already a little bit of blade play this way. And that brings me to the second thing that I hated about it was I had super vertical blade play, and I still have a little bit. It was to the point, which I will splice in the video if I can find it. I know I made a video of it to my friend, where if I shook it like this, it would go, and you'll see that after this if that's what, if I do still have that video. So that is a no-no. You should not spend $150 on a knife and have vertical blade play. It's just terrible. So the all-around action of this blade and how it's set in the knife is pretty terrible. This version, at least. Everybody else's version is, they all, if you watch, I'm sure you've watched plenty of videos, they all say the action is horrible. I did not and do not like that this finger choil nub gets in the way of the compression lock. That makes no sense to me. I would think that should make no sense to anybody, especially the designer. I mean, they said that this, I thought I had heard that this was like 10 years in the making, this knife, or something like that. Maybe I'm over exaggerating what I heard, but I know it was years in the making. So you would think that, that would be seen as a problem. You go to put your finger on the compression line. The reason why this is an issue for me is I like to play with my knives. I drive people nuts with it sometimes. And I think a lot of us do. If you're a PM2 fan, which who isn't that likes Spydercos, there's nothing in the way. You just take it and you flip it out. Well, good luck. Good luck, because that is in the way. See how that has to be pushed out of the way? I'm doing it kind of slow motion here to show you what has to be done with the action while you're doing it, so you can make it look like that. And you do that enough times, you'll learn not to do that enough times, because your finger gets all screwed up. Very poor. It infuriates me, actually. It's just a feature on this knife that drives me nuts. And I don't know if I'll ever get over it, because when you have a knife that does this, and then you put this one back in your pocket, and you can't do it. I don't understand that feature. So that's a biggie. So the action, the vertical blade play, finger choil nub in the way, and basically the whole fact that I spent $150 for this knife that has those kind of problems. If the thing was $50, I'd still be a little annoyed, but I'd get over it quicker. $150 knife, to me, I'm not Mr. Rich Boy here, it shouldn't have any problems like that. I mean, it's a knife. It's a knife for $150. When I tell people some of the, you spend $150, they think you're insane. So put that into perspective. This knife should be perfect. It should not have those problems. So I want everybody to know that. Like, go into this knowing, if you like to spend knives and collect, spend money on knives and collect a bunch of them, don't care what you spend, and you like to work on them, which I do, go ahead and buy this knife. But if you're on a limited budget, I'm going to tell you to pass. Right now, I'll say it right now. Do not buy this knife. The ergonomics are good, but they are not touted, or they're not as good as what they're touted as. Everybody, talks about maybe better than the Manix 2. It's not, in my opinion. It's not. This thing fits perfect. And my ultimate perfect is the PM2. That just in my hand is super perfect. It feels amazing. It feels like it belongs there. As far as these three go, I would basically put it in that order. This being the best. So that'll give you a little perspective on that. My ultimate knife for ergonomics is the Recon 1. And this thing feels like if I took a bar of clay and squeezed it in my hand, that's how it feels. It just fits all the contours of my hand. So this is number one to me. So if you want a Recon 1, that'll kind of give you, in any of these knives, it'll kind of give you, leading you to how you're going to feel about that knife, if this knife feels the best in your hand. Kind of the best I could do with that. What do I like about this knife? I love the G10. I love the texture of it. I love how they contoured it. It's just, I love how thick it is. It makes the knife solid and beefy. And with the liners, I mean, this is a beefy knife. So if you don't like beefy knives, don't buy it. But obviously, I like beefy knives. And the finish, I love the stonewash finish. Who doesn't love that? That likes to use their knives, because it really does help hide all those little scratches and everything. Not that I even care if a knife gets scratched, but it's just a great finish. And I love how they put the stonewash on the clip too to match the blade. It's perfect. And even actually the compression lock is stonewashed. So they really did a good job with that. And that's pretty much it. That's what I got to say about this knife. But as far as beefiness, like to give you an idea of what it feels like in hand, it's a little heavier than your Recon 1 if you have that. As far as if you own a Presidio, a Benchmade Presidio, I would call it equal. And this is a thicker knife. The Presidio is a thicker knife. It's made out with aluminum handles, steel liners, and it's got a heck of a blade on it too. So I think it just, to me, it literally feels the same. I don't have a scale, and I probably never will, so you might have to get used to that. It feels basically equal to the Presidio. And even the Crooked River. So it's in that ballpark. It's pretty much what I can tell you. I hope this video helps you make a decision. And if it doesn't, I hope you can find somebody else to help you make a decision. Take care.